What is good, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Major Push Wrestling, the talk show where we give wrestling the major push that it deserves. I am your host, the one and only Papa Gino, and I am joined today by another full panel of all-star guests. This time, every single one of us has been met and introduced to each other through the NoDQ.com family and the review. So shout out to boss man Aaron Rift for having that community that we can all exist in and be a part of, and then come do these things where we can elaborate and expand on our friendships and on our love for professional wrestling.
Damn it.
Yeah, first try. All right. With that said, I have Noah Foster here. Noah, how you doing?
Doing good, Gino. Good to see you once again. We broke down statistics for NXT Stand Delivered. I'm looking forward to what you bring to this wrestling conversation. It's good to be back here on the Papa Gino brand side of things, bringing the major push professional wrestling. So, again, always happy to collab with you, whether on your platform or mine, and looking forward towards what you got in mind.
Thank you very much, Noah. Dave is also here. Dave, how you doing?
Good, Gino. Thank you for having me. Watch you guys' predictions, Mortem show, and I'm right there with you. I think we're all in the middle of the road with our predictions. But I'm glad to be here and talking some more professional wrestling.
Never know,
All
man.
right. We love professional wrestling here. And Matthew is also with us. Matthew, how you doing?
Doing good. I mean, it's only day 3 of one of the longest weeks of wrestling. Aaron's got, 17 days of reviews, topics, and I don't know it's going to have just as long. And, it's a crazy week. We've got 2 big pay-per-views over the next 2 weeks. And, the biggest show of them all, Hall of Fame, everything else. So we're going to not have much sleep, but it's going to be a fun weekend and a fun couple days.
100%. Yeah, a lot of us are going to be very, very busy on your phone screens, computer screens, maybe even television screens. We'll be doing Noah's got watch longs. We got predictions. We've got prediction postmortems. We've got the No DQ review. I will be back to moderating it this Saturday, and we will be talking about the CM Punk promo from Monday, among other things. But today we have other topics. But before we get into that, the man on the ones and twos, the Oof Man, is with us as well. Oofman, how you doing?
Doing great, Gino. Yeah, it's been a crazy. It's like everybody's saying, it's a crazy time, but probably the best time in wrestling. And adding AEW Dynasty into the mix, like sure, why not? But yeah, excited to talk some professional lucha libre. So I think Gino, it's time to get the topics on display, and here we go.
Absolutely. And with it being this time of year, sometimes it becomes bitter sweet, especially for me and what were very real dreams and aspirations of becoming a professional wrestler and all of these things. If I was born even 10 years later and had guys like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, all of in AEW existing, it maybe could have changed the way somebody under 200 pounds at 6 foot tall would have viewed these things. So sometimes I get a little emotional this time of year because it's always something that I wished I was a part of. But thanks to you guys here on the panel, thanks to No DQ, and thanks to our loyal viewers here, I'm able to scratch that itch. And then we have another emotion that we feel, which is frustration and anger and vitriolic hate towards what's going on our screens as we watch the product live. Now, full disclosure, maybe not everybody here watches every episode of Raw and SmackDown live. Sometimes it's on the YouTube, and I look forward to hearing you guys break down how you're viewing the product and how you view the product, two different things, particularly through this lens. I'm not going to go into the literal dozens of times that a Monday Night Raw has ended on what they assume is a cliffhanger, but in reality, it is just the feed cutting. Like, I don't really know how else to put that, because as you know, Noah had mentioned Pokemon previously and to be continued and stuff. Like, you have cliffhangers, and then the next week you pick up right from there. Now, if next week's Monday Night Raw starts and Obafemi and Brock Lesnar are in the ring during a pull-apart brawl, throwing furniture back and forth at each other, okay, fine, you got me. That was a great to be continued. But I would put everything I own in this world that Monday Night Raw will start just like any other episode of Monday Night Raw, with the walk-ins, not even the pyro anymore to start it. Not even going to go down to that rabbit hole, because I will rant for days as why they don't, like, how they could start the show better and make it feel more important.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be specifically wanting to hear your guys' thoughts on commercial breaks, not just the length of them, but the amount of them and the placement of them, as well as the ending of shows, specifically Raw. I get that SmackDown does air on cable in the United States, which is where we live, but is on Netflix literally everywhere else. But Raw is on Netflix everywhere. So they, you know, when it switched to Netflix, we've all talked about it, and I'm sure you guys will discuss it more. But the idea is that there's going to be no time constraint, right? At first, we thought there'd be no commercials, but silly us. Obviously, these live events are going to have paid advertisers and things like that. Okay, whatever, fine. The placement of these commercial breaks, the length of these commercial breaks, then the required suspension of disbelief that something isn't going to happen in a match that's actively going on until they come back from commercial. And then when they end these shows in the middle of a segment, plus the rush job that it seems that they're doing with their segments that actually matter. Like, we could, like, so many of the segments, the important stuff that we actually cared about from Raw felt really rushed and misplaced. Like the Liv and Raquel with Stephanie situation, like Aaron had mentioned, you could have done that earlier in the night and then replayed it back a whole bunch of times. Now, don't get me started on the amount of replay backs that we have instead of actual content that they could be delivering that doesn't feel rushed. And then they can actually end their show with a proper ending instead of go check out what happened on social media after the fact. WWE, this isn't anything new, though. If you've been to a live show, you know the show never ends right when the feed goes off the air. They usually do a dark match, or sometimes they'll continue with something to send the crowd home happy. I remember distinctly on the road to WrestleMania with CM Punk and The Rock and John Cena all those years ago. I was there in attendance, and I remember recording. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even think the live crowd is seeing this. And they were still wrestling and doing all that stuff, but that was for us. But now, and you know, you might get grainy camera footage appearing on YouTube, but WWE is specifically putting this stuff on their YouTube as if 2.5, 3 hours of our time wasn't enough. I got to go see what happened with the only thing that some of us might care about after the fact. And time permitting, we will address another topic that is kind of in line with this, but if I need to save it, I might save it. So I'm not going to address it right here. So I'm going to throw it around the horn here. I'm going to start with the Oofman. The Oofman, you've been very outspoken in the group chats about ticket prices and stuff that TKO isn't doing to help them. Noah's literally in his active to be continued Tony Storm mode right now. We will get to him in a moment. But Oofman, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, I mean, maybe you guys will prove me wrong and find a way for this stuff to make sense. Maybe business-wise, maybe entertainment-wise, whatever. But to end a segment in the middle of stuff and then find out that they're throwing steel steps at each other on YouTube after Netflix goes off the air, when there's literally no need for a time constraint on Netflix because you could stream till the cows come home. Oofman, take it away.
Yeah, I'm also puzzled on that as well as you, Gino, where now in the Netflix era, I can still understand SmackDown there on USA, you have to have a hard stop at 11, but you have 3 hours. But as far as Netflix, I'm a little confused about that because yes, back in my day when I went to Raw in the Attitude Era, you had, yeah, I was there 90 from summer of 98 to the fall of 2003. Long story short, so I live in Jersey. They used to do back-to-back recordings, Raw at the old Continental Airlines Arena in the Meadowlands, and then Tuesday night, yeah, shocker, Tuesday night they would record SmackDown at MSG, and I would do back-to-back shows, and then they would come back a couple months later, Raw at MSG, and then Continental Airlines Tuesday for SmackDown. And when there was a brawl going out, because that was the height of the Attitude Era, Stone Cold and The Rock and the Corporation, DX and all that, we were losing our minds. I was losing my voice. I would show up to school the next day all sore, and everybody knew where I was the night before, and Tuesday as well into Wednesday. So we knew like you were left at this awesome cliffhanger because there was a brawl or something good was happening. But when you're watching it at home, it was really hard to remember when they would yell. I think in like 97, they did that. The first one that comes to mind is, again, me being the Bret Hart mark, when Bret Hart was wheelchair Bret Hart, and he was talking smack to Shawn Michaels, and he was supposed to super kick. Shawn Michaels was supposed to super kick Bret, but they went off the air. There, yeah, we were left with that was a great cliffhanger. Little did we know it was an error on Bret's part. He says he forgot his cue or he didn't hear his cue because the place was loud. So there's an example of a major cliffhanger where we had to wait till, again, back in 97, it was only Raw. You had to wait for the next week of like what happened between Bret and Shawn. But in the Attitude Era, there were rarely any cliffhangers like that where the feed would just cut off. I don't ever remember it being there live at the event. You were just, like I said, losing your head, screaming, wanting more. And then they would go on for maybe, like I'd say 15 more minutes or so, or 24 minutes, so the crowd can go home happy. But now in this Netflix era, I am shocked that they would cut the feed, like you said. The way what you were talking about earlier, how do you watch? I watch the clips. I haven't watched the Raw or SmackDown in a long time. I watch the clips. I watch people reviews, but I did see the clip with Oba and Lesnar and how it just cuts off. Like, I'm with you, Gino. I'm a little upset. Like, wait, this is the Netflix era. This is streaming. They have a cutoff. It's live, yes, but it's not like broadcasting on cable or on regular television. Again, like I understand SmackDown, you have to end at a certain time, but I was shocked that on Netflix they would have a cutoff. And did it leave like a cliffhanger? No, because I wanted to see more. Not like, oh, like you said, I have to now go to the socials. Well, what if I don't follow, even though I do, but what if I don't follow WWE, or I do follow it, but I don't have the notification bell to alert me of video? So I'll complete, like you said, you had to go to the socials to see it. What if I don't follow it like that and I'm going to miss out? Like, oh, there were stairs involved. There were chairs involved. Was there an F5? Did Oba do something? It's shocking and mind-blowing, again, in this Netflix era that they're doing that. Because like you said, there's nothing live afterwards or nothing that can't be preempt or something. It's Netflix. It goes when it wants. So a little shocking, a little dumbfounded. Hopefully this is the only time this happens. And they can't do it now. We were talking earlier before we started. This is WrestleMania season. You can't do that now. We want to see what's going on. You got to get us hyped for the show. They did it. Shocking. Why? Only the good Lord knows why. Was it an error? I don't know, but little taken back of it. But in this Netflix era, a little mind blown that they actually are going back to cutting off the feed, if that's what it was.
Thank you very much, Oofman. Now, like WWE's always cut to commercial during matches, and I feel like they think that that's well, the viewer's not going to go anywhere because this match, they're going to want to be in front of their TV when the commercial comes back to see what happens with the match. I do pseudo like when they do the picture-in-picture thing. AEW's adopted this as well. Like, that feels more real just because it's like you're telling the viewer, well, whatever you're missing isn't that important, which then tells the live viewers that we're just stalling for time and all these types of things. And we're going to get into a topic potentially about that as well. But so this is nothing new during the match. I still don't really like that. I would love for the match to be over. You go to commercial. Maybe we miss an entrance from somebody we don't care about or something like that. That feels to me better suited for a commercial break. But I'm going to throw it over to Noah now. Noah, the time is now to be continued. And I'm looking forward to seeing anytime I can reference John Cena. I'm looking forward to seeing what you think. Obviously, you've been very outspoken about your displeasure with WWE. How do you watch the product? Are you watching every night? Is this affecting you the way it's affecting me? Or what's going on with these commercial breaks and the ending midstream?
Okay. So I actually do not watch it. I do not watch Netflix or USA. I watch WWE matches on YouTube the following day because he uploads the matches and the clips and the promos with no commercial breaks whatsoever and no involvement of advertisements because I am YouTube Premium. It's a tale of its time itself. When I watched that TNA premiere on AMC and saw the commercial breaks during matches, between matches, even during promo segments, I was like, okay, now I realize why I hate television. There's a reason why every stream I do with the people at SR Studios 24, follow my next today, folks, about Studios, I say F television, F WWE streaming services, F certain streaming services, because I can't stand that crap. And especially in TKO WWE, let's call it is, folks. It's not WWE anymore. It's TKO WWE because they are owned by TKO. It is advertisement palooza. If they could stick an advertisement in a corner on an LED board or in front of your face on a screen during match before match, they do it. I'd rather see more Perazzolo in picture with the virtuous Diana Perazzolo. Tell me how you should go to Sun Hampton University for a strong education, or give me a history fan who goes to her podcast, Boots to Boots, with her and Steve Macklin. Then watch a WWE live trial with how many advertisement breaks you get. Not to mention what a PVV used to be. Now it's PLE. And a PLE might as well be substantially expensive, underwhelming television because you got just as much commercial breaks, if not more, with a premium level content under TKO WWE than you do with any other product. At least with AEW, I know I'm watching a freaking pay-per-view, and the only advertisement I got to worry about is DraftKings once in a while, or advertising for their biggest show all in, or their next pay-per-view. In content, you're going to run a small break. It should be to hype up a future superstar or something else from your product, not some miscellaneous insurance company or some friggin' wipes for men that I could give two bleeps less about. Absolutely garbage, stupid, pointless, waste of my life and existence as a professional wrestling fan. So yeah, it's just a horrible problem, worse than ever now, when it's all about this from the investors versus what you actually should have focused on, the investments from the fans that want to actually watch your freaking crap and are turned away from it for multiple reasons, including probably the overwhelming advertisements. It's a very real problem in this day and age of the wrestling business, and TKO WWE is the biggest offender of it. I hate it. I watch WWE matches on YouTube to avoid it, and I don't think that's ever going to change. And as far as AEW, keep doing picture-in-picture as long as you can and give me a commercial break. We only tell me it's only 90 seconds once a show, and you still have a fan in me. TNA, I stopped TNA a long time ago. So, again, hopefully AEW continues to do what they do, and hopefully TKO WWE does less of what they do. Because ending a substantial end angle like that, when you're not supposed to have a deadline, you're on Netflix, for Pete's sake. No one gives a damn about some original context on their movie that I can just click on DVR. You're looking at live content, not pre-recorded BS. That was beyond stupid. Oh, 90 seconds on YouTube. That's how you recompense. Get that crap out of here. That was bull crap. So, yeah, it's a horrible thing right now with TKO WWE more than ever. And only seeing it getting worse from here. I can't wait to see how many advertisements we get during the first WrestleMania on ESPN, lest you all forget. 10 minutes long.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Yes, thank you very much, Noah. I will say one thing. If you have been to a live show, especially recently, you know that they are definitely hitting their target audience with those dude wipes commercials, because, boy, does 99% of the wrestling audience smell like they do not know what a bar of soap is, and they don't know what the inside of a bathroom other than the toilet is. But I digress. You're right. The ads are everywhere, and all of that seems to the ring used to be super sacred. Now, I knew it was going to transition this way because it's free advertisements, essentially, because it's stuff that wasn't being used, and now they could sell the space. You know, I had the same problem when they started putting advertisements on sports jerseys. You know, obviously football and slash soccer has been doing it for decades, but you know, it takes something away from the professionalism when there's a bunch of ads here. Now that we first saw that with Brock Lesnar and his Jimmy John shorts, and everybody had a problem with that, and it seems like WWE likes to learn the wrong lessons from certain things. So thank you so much for that, Noah. It does become frustrating. And for me personally, like I try to watch at least the opening segment live. Sometimes I will fast forward to the stuff that I'm maybe not super interested in. Like you said, you'll watch a match on YouTube and it's 3 minutes long and they're just giving you like the important stuff with no commercial breaks, unless you, you know, if you don't have YouTube Premium, then you got to watch an ad in the beginning, maybe at the end, whatever. But yeah, it becomes increasingly frustrating when they don't know how to cliffhang and do this stuff to make us want to come back. Like 9 times out of 10, it used to be where if you started Raw late, I don't know if you guys knew this, you could like fast forward through the commercials until you get to the live, and then you can't fast forward through the commercials. They have stopped that since then, and it's frustrating for me because if you accidentally hit the fast forward button, it'll restart the whole commercial break. So then that becomes annoying in its own right. But I'm going to throw it over now to one of the No DQ Florida chapter members, but they're both New DQ Florida chapter members. So who am I going to? We're going to go to Matthew. Matthew, what do you think? How do you watch this stuff? Is the ending of a show when it's supposed to, when there's actually stuff we want to see, make us want to come back, or make us more frustrated and these commercial breaks take it away?
I mean, it was pretty weird that they did the whole lower half thing. They had the, you know, Paul Levesque leave fitting stuff as Oba and Brock were still walking to the ring. So it's like, we know something else is still going to happen. And then, yeah, it's like, why space it out that way when we could have gotten the whole thing? It's kind of like when AEW does an overrun and then there's a rare time where nothing happens. You know, both companies kind of seem to sometimes not have the ability to time things right, even when they've got extra time. And another big thing, and, you know, a lot of people have said that, is we all assume that, yeah, Netflix was going to give us unlimited time, you know. And then it's weird when you get some of these cool segments that if you're not watching directly through Netflix, you miss. Like Danhausen coming out and shooting the cannon and stuff like that. It's like, unless you have Netflix proper and you're not watching it through some other, like a VPN or something like that, you don't get to see some of that stuff. Now, one thing I have wondered for a while now is how much of the commercials and the problems with it is that due to the WWE/TKO, and how much of that is towards the investors and the sponsors? You know, are they the ones that are like, okay, well, you guys have to have X amount of commercials per hour, per show, and, you know, WWE has no control over that. I mean, if that's the case, why can't they do the picture-in-picture thing more often? And I think that was one of the reasons why, I think Noah might be able to correct me on this, that Fox let go of SmackDown was supposedly they weren't feeling like they were getting the investment out of the sponsors and the commercials from the SmackDown.
Correct.
And that was one of the reasons why they let it go, because they weren't feeling like they were getting their money's worth. But
also, that opening night, you could see the producers in the front row during the Firefly Funhouse segment. They were like, what in God's name did we just spend all this money for? I believe in that moment, even though the Firefly Funhouse was some good quality stuff for wrestling fans, I believe in that moment they already decided we're not renewing this contract, but continue.
Yeah.
So
and then, like you said, you know, dude wipes, commercials for erectile dysfunction. It's like, way to call out your fan base that already gets criticized for the few people that, you know, people like us who do wash before we go to a wrestling show, do need to use deodorant, but like, way to really make the wrestling community look even dumber by having to have commercials about dude wipes, erectile dysfunction, this, that, and the other. It's like, no wonder people don't want to buy these commercials. I miss when it was just commercials for Slim Jim and soda, or even when they did like the goofy video game tie-ins, like there was the old one of Taz supposedly playing Final Fantasy like 10 or something like that. And it's like, I miss stuff like that, stuff that we actually would be interested in. But yeah, the whole thing with Oba and Brock was weird, and I don't like all the commercials, but like I said, I don't know how much of that is the WWE proper and how much of that is Netflix, the sponsors, this and that, saying, okay, you guys have to have this many commercials. It doesn't matter where you put them in, just do it. And if that's the case, maybe do like, like when you go to a movie, do it all at the start, and then the rest of the show is, commercial free. I don't know.
And they've even tried some of those things where it's like the first hour is commercial free, presented by this. And then we had things like the John Cena and Sami Zayn match, which was commercialed into oblivion and then ended with a no finish, because they wanted the ending segment of the show to be more commercial free and whatever. Like, so obviously there's somebody there that's being cognizant of the fact of where the commercials are placed. But 5 minutes of commercials during a match, like, how am I supposed to be invested in any of the match at that point when I know it's not going to end, and then it's like, oh, 2 commercial break. Now it's a match's quality, at least in WWE, is judged by how many commercial breaks it gets. A long match doesn't equal a quality match, guys. Long movie doesn't equal a quality movie. There's a perfect length for however short or however long for the specific content that you're delivering. And it becomes increasingly frustrating. We could talk all day about the advertisements in the ring, on the ladders, on the tables and stuff. I know Uthman's really outspoken about the table logos for sure. I think it's brilliant. And if there's money to be made, but the thing is, they're doing all this stuff to make extra money, and then they're still not passing on any savings to the consumers, and they still can't sell out the show. So, I mean, let's do that, but then make the tickets affordable. Granted, a few of us are going to Backlash, and I think $163 for a premium live event, all fees included, isn't the worst. It's not the $45 I paid to go to WrestleMania in the nosebleeds at WrestleMania 28. It's not the $125 I paid for WrestleMania 37 to be in the second section, but then I knew somebody working the event, so I went wherever I wanted, really. But it still is better than multiple commas in some cases with those ticket prices. So rumor is that after CM Punk said that, the future events ticket prices are going to go down. If I look on Ticketmaster and find out that Backlash is cheaper than $163 for seats near me, bro, there will not be sleeves that can contain this man and his rage. I may not even look. So with that being said, I am going there.
Now I'm
Dave.
tempted to look.
Right. I mean, we'll see how. I mean, it was just happened Monday, so it'll probably take a little bit before that trend takes effect. Maybe not. But I'm going to throw it over to Dave. Dave and I spent 30 minutes trying to book tickets through my Ticketmaster, his card and his Ticketmaster, whatever. It was a load of difficulty, and I thought for sure the tickets are going to be gone and whatever. But we got them. We made it happen. We're going together, me, him, and Matt. It's going to be fantastic. But Dave, what are your thoughts? Because we've got stuff that's very clearly not making the viewers at home happy, but they're kind of appeasing the live viewers with that. But at the same time, if you're maybe checking on your phone, is there's a commercial break, then like we used to be able to predict the commercial breaks whenever there's a dive to the outside. I don't like calling it the name that they call it. It feels like in a PG show, you shouldn't be using that S word as frequently as you do when people jump to the outside. Call it something else. But that's a topic for another day. Like we used to be like, oh, here comes the commercial break. And like when we're live and when we're watching on TV. So some of that's becoming predictable, but at the end of the day, I don't care at all about people's anger with Pat McAfee. My anger extends towards when I'm watching the product and then I'm having something completely taken away from me to then I have to go onto YouTube to watch it when obviously we know we're going to watch Aaron's review recap. So it's like, what's going on? Dave, take it away. How do you feel about all this and how do you watch the shows?
Well, Gino, thanks first of all for bringing up how we bought those tickets, because I can laugh about it now, but back when we were doing it, I'm thinking, what the? But I'm glad we got them though, because we're gonna have a great time. But last night or Monday night, they had two objectives because with the WrestleMania buildup, one was the Punk's pipe bomb, the second was closing the show. And as you said, the whole night seemed rushed. And I think it was mentioned on Aaron's review after the show. If they would have gotten rid of one thing that wasn't needed that night, you can't let what happened at the end of that show happen, because that's like one of the probably the most talked about WrestleMania match at this point is Oba and Brock. And to cut it, I've never seen it cut like that. I've seen things cut before, but not the way it was. And I was thinking to myself and thinking, oh, they're probably doing that for Aaron because two of his favorite things are the pull-apart brawls and the contract signings. Well, they had the pull-apart brawl, but they never got the contract signed. So he could have had a 2-for-1 there. But the commercials are killing me. The 30 seconds into a match, you're getting a commercial. I think that a couple of the things I think AEW does right, we kid around on Wednesday night about the overruns, but at least they give you the overruns and let them finish for the most part. Other than a couple, like Matthew said, they've had a couple of hiccups, but at least they let it play out.
Yeah.
And also they have the pitcher-in-pitcher, because I know we know that if you have a pitcher-in-pitcher, when was the last time you saw a match end in pitcher-in-pitcher? But at least it doesn't stop the momentum of watching a match. And I watched my first AEW pay-per-view last month, other than it being too long and being on a Sunday when I have to be up at like 7 o'clock on Monday morning, which was hard. I wish they'd have them on Saturday if they're going to do that, or start earlier. But I got to give them credit. It's nice watching that without ads, without anything in them. And because that's, and the Netflix I'm going to go off like you have, and like Noah has. You guys have so much passion about it, and I do too, because I can't stand all these breaks during matches, all the breaks all over. And also the Netflix, when it was started, and we talked about it on the Review Tuesday, that in the beginning, we had some shows, hour 40, hour 45, 2 hours, 2 hours 10. We had a couple of different, and then they would go 2:45. But there's no reason they couldn't have finished out that show instead of stopping at 10:28. That was ridiculous. It's just, and that's again what everybody's been talking about. And I'm just going to piggyback on everybody, is Netflix streaming, different than USA. You don't have to hard stop. There's no show that's on right afterwards. I just think it's ridiculous. It's tiring. It is tiring, and I'm almost to the point like Noah, or even watching Netflix the next morning or the next day after work, and that way you could fast forward through that stuff. It's going to be a pain in the neck, and I knew, Gino, when you were on the review with me Tuesday night, this was going to be a topic that you were going to have at one point or another, if not soon, because I know you were about to go off on it that night when everybody was talking about McAfee, because we got into that long discussion, and it was a great review. It was a great review. We had a ball on it, but you were about to go off on the commercials, the rush matches, the rush segments. Everything was rushed on that show Monday except the pipe bomb. If that would have been at the end of the show and they would have rushed that would have been even more over the top. But the commercials just tick me off to no end, and I know it's what they're doing. They gotta have the sponsors and they gotta pay them, but we all talk about the Mighty Buck and TKO, and they gotta get every bit of blood from everyone, money wise, and that's the thing that I think that's some of the stuff that's bringing WWE down a little bit right now is TKO. Unfortunately, I mean, as much as Vince was losing it, everybody said it's not always greener on the other side, and unfortunately, TKO is showing some of the negativity about this because all we want to do is enjoy good wrestling and a good show and not have craziness and thousands of interruptions. And like you talked about the Sami Zayn match and Cena, that was ridiculous. There was more commercials than wrestling in that match. And it's just, and it is getting annoying with when the spots are coming, when they're going to take a commercial with the dives. That's another story. At one point, somebody's got to talk about with Io Sky almost breaking her neck a few weeks ago on a dive outside, because we already know in AEW, the one thing I don't like is some of the spots they take. These people are, I just feel like someone's going to you're seeing all these injuries now. I'm worried for guys like Darby Allin and Kyle Fletcher that later on their necks are going to be torn up, and if not breaking them, and because they're good talent, but you don't want to just use them all up while they're in their 20s. And I just think they've got to be a little bit safer, and WWE's got to stop doing the crap that they've been doing. I know I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I'm passionate about that.
Hey man, it's totally fine. Like, one of the things that I really wanted Major Push Wrestling to kind of be about was to talk about the positives that we have. But the thing is the positives are kind of getting lost in the shuffle with the stuff that seems so obviously not the way you're supposed to do things. Yeah. And whether it's business, whether it's operating a television show, whether it's producing a television show, whatever have you. And so we're forced to talk about the stuff that we don't like. And hopefully, if all the signs are pointing to NXT is putting on a better product, because obviously they're watching Noah complain that it's not NXT Black and Gold, WWE is now addressing the fan complaints in storyline, and people are still finding a reason to get mad at it. If you guys feel mad, it's fine. Totally up to you. That's the best thing about wrestling. It's subjective, and we're allowed to get mad at it because it's scripted. So we can be upset at the decisions that they're making because it seems so glaringly, obviously not the way to do things. Matthew.
Well, just kind of talking about the commercial breaks for a minute, and love him or hate him, I love how he's always pointed this out. Something Jim Cornette actually pointed out is, I miss in the old days when you watched a wrestling show and they were about to go into commercial break and the commentators hyped it up. It's like, we're about to hit a commercial break, but stay tuned for the action. You don't want to miss it. But nowadays, it's just like, they just go to commercial break half the time. It's like, they don't even explain, you don't want to miss anything, or we promise you're not going to miss anything, or even, when they went to commercial break, they would then do a recap of what you might saw in a commercial. We don't even see that anymore most of the time. It's just commercial, and then they're back. And it's like, okay, well, what happened? Did we miss something cool? You guys didn't even let us know that a commercial break was coming. It just shows up, and then 5 minutes later, there's another one. And I miss things like that. And I don't know if that's a production standard now or what, but I kind of wish we could go back to that, because that was always that kind of made you at least prepare for the commercial break. So it's like, okay, well, at least I can go run to the bathroom now or something. And, I know I'm not going to miss anything cool, but now we don't even see that. Unless, maybe by chance they do have the picture-in-picture still. But, that's just a minor gripe that, I kind of wish would come back.
And then that's the thing. At least in traditional broadcasting, which is done on USA for SmackDown in the US, it used to be that you rushed, grabbed your snack, went to the bathroom, maybe, did your vice of choice, whatever it is, then you hurried back and you ended up catching, one of the last commercials. Like it at this point, it's like almost easy to predict when they're coming back. I'm going to address Raw, but I'm specifically talking about SmackDown because they always do this television show, check us out. It's always the network's own commercials leading back from the break. So it's starting to be like, oh, if I hear them talking about the newest episode of The Rookie or whatever it is, I'm like, oh, okay, it's coming back. But with Raw, and literally right at the top, and I think this is one of the best things about streaming across anything, is it tells you how long you have for the break. But the problem then becomes when I see that thing 4 minutes plus, I'm like, what are we doing? This is in the middle of a match. And let us not forget, less than a year ago, we came back from commercial and Penta was hurt. He was hurt during a commercial break doing something. And then the WWE had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to have Dominic fake that same spot the next week as if we even saw the spot live when it happened. We didn't. We had to watch it on a recap, which it becomes infuriating. But like, you have choices, right? Triple H entered on Monday. His music hits. That's a great song. I'm happy to listen to that whole thing. But then, see, I watch it. If I don't catch it live on Netflix, the way I avoid commercials is on the high seas. And so I'm not sure. And it takes their feed from the UK. And so I'm not sure exactly if the cuts and the commercials are exactly where they are, or where they're not supposed to be, or whatever the case is. But you can tell that there's a commercial break because Michael Cole's he changes and he starts talking about, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm not live, or we are. And then you come back from the commercial break and Triple H's music is still playing and he either hasn't fully gotten in the ring or whatever, he's walking around. And that happened with Penta's entrance this past Monday. But it's like, and this will be a topic for another day because we are really sinking our teeth into this topic. But what are the live fans supposed to do when an entrance takes a 5-minute commercial break plus the 3 minutes you show of the actual entrance? And then when you're there live, the music's not playing the whole time. It's just people walking around in a ring. And sometimes they actually put a freaking commercial on the Titantron, and then they start playing the music in the middle of it. And then that's how you know you're coming back from break and all these types of things. But you mean to tell me that they couldn't have set up the feed I watched on the high seas, I visually got to see them putting the stuff into the ring for the contract signing. So whether or not that was what Netflix saw, I don't know, unfortunately, whether or not that is, something that they're doing. But it's kind of annoying because if it was done during the commercial, cool. And if it wasn't done during the commercial, then who is that for? Why is this stuff not being set up? Nobody wants to see freaking some people's entrances, do the commercial breaks where there's a break in the actual action, between segments and this stuff. And you mentioned there's really no notification that you're getting a commercial. I mean, sometimes, Michael Cole will change the cadence of his voice. Oh, who will win? Blah, 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 blah. And then he cuts the commercial and it feels inauthentic. And that's one of the things that WWE and wrestling as a whole should be trying. And I know AEW does it better. They should be really trying to make us suspend our disbelief as much as possible. Am I supposed to believe that if a match has a commercial that it's obviously planned? We all know it's scripted. We're not here to act like we're not living in kayfabe. But if you're willing to book a 5-minute commercial in the middle of a match, that's so obvious to even a first-time viewer that it's staged and it's not the way that I feel like it should be done. you also mentioned, one of you mentioned that, maybe it's a requirement through the advertising contract and things like that, the number of commercials. And it makes sense because you usually have, 5 minutes of commercials every 30 minutes. Like that's how TV shows do it. That's how movies made for TV do it. That's how it all does. But like, imagine freaking Netflix cutting to commercial in the middle of a passing play in the red zone in football, or Netflix cutting to a commercial in the middle of a boxing match in the middle of a round. Like, no, there's got to be different ways to do it. And I'm not the picture of excellence when it comes to advertising and when to do commercials, but this feels like it's not the way. And at the end of the day, commercials or whatever, don't do all of that for 2 hours and 15 minutes and then make me have to miss what is very clearly the biggest match on WrestleMania card, even if it's not the main event, unless you're Paul Heyman, when he knows true, anything with Brock Lesnar is the main event, but it's going to open the show. It's just, there's like, you can have them fighting, and somebody mentioned pull-apart brawls and the contract signing and all this stuff. Like, they didn't even get the contract signed, like under the same roof. Like, come on, this is WrestleMania season. Everybody should be all hands on deck. So it becomes frustrating, and it will lead into another topic that we're going to discuss next week, which is what is better? If you're WWE, or I think Uthman's being haunted right now, but what's better? Do you appease the viewers or do you appease the live fans? And is there a happy medium? Because some of the things that are very good for the live fans, like pull apart brawls, they love contract signing, like the people there love that. But on TV, we've seen it 1,000 times. It was like, who should they be trying to appease? And it might be a balancing act. It's not easy. Like Aaron mentioned on the review, these guys do 7+ hours of content every single week. It's not super easy, but for us as viewers, it seems like, well, this could have made this and this and this. And when we fantasy book it better, that's when it becomes frustrating, similar to the Pat McAfee thing. So anybody have anything that they would like to add, maybe forgot to mention? I know Noah's back in his Tony Storm mode right now. Noah, do you have anything to add to the frustrations here?
No, I'll find out after this commercial break. I'm kidding. No, I don't really have anything else to add at this point. I think you pretty much hit all things here. If people want further thoughts, they can stay tuned on other stuff.
Absolutely. And now imagine if we had cut to a commercial break right in the middle of Noah delivering his monologue and then came back.
I'd just be a freeze frame, just be like,
yeah, right, just waiting on it.
And then I see what you would say following us coming back.
It's frustrating. And, there's a lot of good happening in wrestling. I know we're not addressing it right now. It's WrestleMania season. We're all super excited, regardless of what we think about the build and whether things make sense or don't make sense and all this stuff, but super excited to be doing WrestleMania. Dave, final thoughts.
We do have a lot of positive. I think this is going to be a very good WrestleMania. I know Noah put out the predictions earlier. I put in my final note. I think because I think they're still going to add a 14th match to make it 7-7. I still think Asuka and Io will be at it, and I hope they do, because you can't leave those girls off the card, because I think that would be one fabulous match to have for WrestleMania.
Yeah, maybe Asuka actually picks up a win, maybe breaks her streak. But I'll tell you what, I will keep the forum exclusive with Inside the Team until after Monday Night Raw next week, when I start predicting night one after that show concludes. And we know officially if you are correct. But I do also agree that Io and Asuka both deserve a chance to showcase at WrestleMania. We'll see. But when's the primary? It's the Monday Night Raw, because at this point, you got Raw on Netflix. Are you going to do 2.5-hour advertisements? Or are you actually going to give me some wrestling with people that weren't on WrestleMania because you couldn't fit them in? Just saying.
And to that point, I mentioned it on the review, but I will say it here. Our desire for banger matches featuring two superstars going head to head sometimes leaves the opportunity for deserving, hardworking, talented professionals to not be included on the card. They don't even do the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania anymore, and that's a good way to get 20 people on the card. Now they're doing it. They're almost considering SmackDown like the true first night of the WrestleMania.
The pre-show. The pre-show.
Exactly.
But a TLC match on that show, an Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which they usually use to send people into that next element. You look at Bronson Reed, you look at Carmelo Hayes, you look at obviously Big Show won it. You look at what they did with maybe even Cesaro back in the day. Like, these things matter almost more than some of these other, we're just going to pick 6 athletic guys to have a ladder match. Now, that could potentially steal the show. But let's hope that they have learned a little bit. We mentioned that they might be learning the wrong lessons, but hopefully they can learn some of the correct lessons from mistakes made in the past. At the end of the day, whether we like the build or not, whether we watch the shows live every time or not, I bet we're all going to be planted in front of whatever television screen we're watching to enjoy WrestleMania both nights. It's a lot of wrestling, but it should be a fun show. So let's throw it around the horn. Matthew, where can the people find you?
I mean, NoDQ.com, No DQ Facebook, No DQ predictions, No DQ review, that's it, But, I'm always glad to be part of the family, glad to be part of the Florida chapter. And, I look forward to, a little over a month from now when we'll actually get together, the 3 of us, for Backlash. And, check out Noah and the rest of the Simply Reliable Studios, the only SRS that actually matters. Check out Oofman, and of course, check out Gino's stuff. And I'm glad to be part of this group. And we may not always agree, but we are consistent with our opinions, and we don't go at each other's throats like we were seeing in the No DQ review chat last night.
Well, that does make for a fun thing. If we were talking professional football, I would not be inviting Oofman on to something like this because we disagree. But the best thing about being professional wrestling fans is being able to disagree and knowing that nobody's right, nobody's wrong. I guess everybody's right and nobody's wrong because it's all subjective. When it comes to who's the greatest sports teams, obviously that's not subjective. It's the New England Patriots, it's the Boston Celtics, it's the Boston Red Sox, it's the Boston Bruins. But I digress. Dave, where can the people find you?
Well, on No DQ, we'll have the predictions, as I said, this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern with Matthew will be joining me. I think Goofman's coming, I hope. But
no, sadly, I won't be on.
Well, I'll miss you.
Sorry.
We'll miss you, brother. But just like Matthew said, we have become a great group of friends who can agree to disagree and be respectful of each other because we all, I think, like and care about each other. We've all become good friends, and it's going to be not only fabulous to be at my first PLE/pay-per-view next month with Matthew and with Eugenio, but I'm finally glad that I'm going to get to meet a couple of the guys that I've been talking with for all these years now. And it's going to be we're going to have a great time and just a great brotherhood. And everybody should keep an eye on Noah's station. Yours, Gavin with Oofman. You guys, we want to make sure we share the love with all of you and make sure you all get the thumbs up you deserve because you all work hard. You're all passionate. And I just enjoy being a part of it and just getting to be a small part of what is starting with this.
Thank you very much, Dave. Very much respect, guys. Everybody watching along, you can find all of their ats and their socials in the description of this video. We make sure to spread the love. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe and go subscribe to the other guys. Speaking of the other guys, Noah, where can the people find you and the wonderful content that you provide?
Again, I'm not social, but I always seem to be doing something when it comes to professional wrestling anymore. So follow me if you choose. N Foster 1916 on the X and on YouTube. Short-term agenda coming up. There is, of course, Cindy predicting AEW Dynasty. 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, April 9th. And of course, we will be doing watch-alongs for both TNA Rebellion and AW Dynasty at the respective times live this weekend. And Super Predicting TNA Rebellion will be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this coming Saturday, April 11th, before we head into WrestleMania week. And also, of course, if you all saw Predictions Postmortem, you know me and Papa Dino will be breaking down the stats for AW Dynasty and the results 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday night, April the 13th. So again, thank you all so much. Hope you all enjoy the content that is ahead in and out of Superman's brand in the Simulable Studios. And as always, I'm only here to encourage, remind you to gesture life and your professional wrestling too. It's as simple as that.
And Noah, I'm so sorry. What are you a fan of?
That would be professional wrestling. Damn it!
I knew something was missing.
Oh man, that's like an unresolved melody. I was like, I'm not going to be able to get through the rest of my day without hearing that twice.
You and Aaron, apparently.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have the Oof Man on the ones and twos. We very much appreciate him allowing us to go longer than 30-ish minutes. Sorry, guys, we didn't deliver you another 2-hour banger episode. Maybe we'll reserve those 50
for that. Okay, good
yeah,
grief.
We'll reserve those for the centennial type episodes, the milestone episodes. But Oofman, where can the people find you?
Yeah, thanks, Dave, for the plug. Speaking of Dave, I'll plug him as well. In my latest episode of Gavin with Oof, Dave and I we spoke about the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania X7. Yeah, it's been 25 years since that. So if you don't feel old, you will definitely feel old after we talk about it with you. But we also spoke about what led to WrestleMania was the death and the purchase of WCW by WWF, the last Nitro. And then we compared how back then, 25 years ago, how the hype for WrestleMania was different compared to this year's, where again, in that year, even though Austin won the Rumble, he was still feuding in other feuds. He was still wrestling. So was The Rock. Everybody was still wrestling heading towards Mania. And now we've had weeks and weeks and weeks of Roman and Punk just doing this. It's like, how has the company changed in the last 25 years? Was it a positive thing? We speak about a little bit about Nitro, like we did back in our day. We didn't have streaming, kids. We had something called the remote control and the flashback button. And I would watch Raw. Speaking of commercials, Raw would go on commercial, switch it to Nitro. Nitro go to commercials, switch it back to Raw. And it was a time that I'm glad it's gone. It had its moment, but it's something we really miss. So check that out. And thanks to everyone who has watched what I like to call the Power Rangers Trilogy Edition. I did 3 episodes of the Power Rangers with Papa Gino in one of them, and 2 of them actually. And the views, like I shared earlier, I was excited when one of the videos, the second one, hit 100 views, but it is now surpassed 200, and the third video has passed 100. And so thank you for all who have seen it. If you haven't checked it out, youtube.com/Oofman Entertainment. Gavin and Oof, my series is there. I talk pop culture, music, wrestling, obviously Power Rangers. More videos to come, more special guests as we go along. And again, thank you so much for Papa Gino for having me on again as well on his awesome show.
Yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for joining me and helping me bring more credibility to this show that I started about 10, 15 years ago, but fell off. And now we're bringing it back to the viewers every week. And I couldn't have asked for a greater community. I've never felt more a sense of belonging with essentially complete strangers than I have here, knowing you guys and being able to meet some of you guys actually in person. Matthew, future Dave, and hopefully Oofman and Noah in the future as well. Thank you so very much. Some of you guys got to go watch AEW, and I appreciate you hanging around with me. But I very much appreciate your viewership and support. And don't forget to comment along. Do you like the commercials? Are you a sicko and you like these teases where you have to go onto YouTube? Are you only on YouTube? How do you guys watch these WWE events? Whatever you think, let us know in the comment section below. And as always, from Oofman, from Noah, from Dave to Matthew, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, folks. Enjoy.